Good evening and welcome to a joint planning and development subcommittee town council meeting. It's Monday, April 7th at 2025 at 6:17 p.m. We're here in the Veterans Room. It's possible a quorum of the town council may be present and discuss the agenda items, but voting rights shall be limited to subcommittee members in attendance. This meeting is being recorded by both audio and video means. That was the call to order. Roll call. Councilor Marquetti.
Present.
Councilor Kelly.
Present.
Citizen Member Bernadone.
Here.
Citizen Member LaRochelle.
Present.
And I'm present as well. I'm Councilor Daniel. So with 5-0, we have a full house.
Yay.
Very good. Item number 3, consider and accept planning and development subcommittee minutes of March 12th, 2025.
So moved. Second.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Any changes, corrections, deletions for the minutes? No? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Very good. Item number 4, review and discuss a 90-day extension of the CDBG fiscal year 22-23 commercial rehab contract agreement with Pablo Santiago to renovate 44 Hamilton Street with a project completion date of July 12, 2025, and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork. Entertain a motion to recommend approval to the town council.
So moved. I'll second.
Very good. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Chairman, through you first, there would be a slight amendment to this agenda item to eliminate the 90-day and just simply say review, discuss, and extension with a completion date of June 30, 2025. This-
June 30.
Okay, that's to allow us to complete the paperwork and the closeout for that grant period.
All right, do you want a formal amendment or?
I can amend it,
Okay.
but it just, that would be.
Brilliant.
So on this one, there's been extensive conversations in my office relative to this request for an extension. When this first came up to my office asking me if I would entertain an extension for this, I recall the extensive debate that we had at council meeting relative to this project. And I had stated that in order for me to even consider bringing forward to the town council an extension, that Mr. Santiago would have to provide some project timelines, because we have entered into numerous agreements with different parties at various stages, and they all seem to be either delayed or are not ongoing at certain points. So when it came back to me, and I said I want that articulated into some kind of written guarantee that he would provide documentation. So at that point, I had asked that what the status of his building permit was, what the status of his construction schedule, and a complete timeline as to what would occur. So Peg and Sue have worked extensively with Mr. Santiago to make sure that he complies with this so that we get this project done. We don't want to lose the money. That's one of the things is we have this commercial loan program. We want to see these funds being used, but I'm also of, the message has been delivered quite clearly that we as a town will set specific timelines and benchmarks with these individuals that are now taking out these loans and projects to keep them on task and not wait till the last minute to come back and ask for extensions and delivery of products. We are understanding that there are issues that do occur, that sometimes things are delayed. However, it's also incumbent on the person that is taking these funds to make sure that we hold them accountable, and that's the fact now. So we have received from him that his building permit was secured, that he has been going on site, and what the delivery and timeline for him to be completed by June 30th. So I would ask that we entertain and go forward with this extension at this time to be closely monitored by our departments.
Very good. Questions of the committee? Dee Dee.
Does he get paid a bulk sum, a lump sum, or is it as work is done and completed, he gets a piece of the money?
It's upon completion.
he gets a total funding at completion?
He actually has to put in 25% himself, and then we cover 75%, and it's afterwards, so.
And it's at completion, okay.
At completion, right? It's different than the other loans that we have, if I may.
Certainly.
It's different as the other loans that we have that have been subject to numerous conversations. However, I believe that we still have to hold these people accountable, even though
Exactly.
we pay them at the end of the day. We have these contracts, we wanna make sure the money is used and expended, but we have to report this, and we don't wanna jeopardize the town into losing any funding because it is not completed in a timely manner.
Thank you.
Counselor Kelly.
I'm just looking at this, I mean, it looks like he's just right now in the demolition and refuse removals phase of the project, pre-construction, site preparation. Doesn't, I mean, is June 30th a realistic date? Here we are, April, what, 4th, 5th?
Did
No,
you
I think
give
we're.
the updated timelines here?
I did give
Yeah.
out the timeline. I think that's what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's reasonable. I'm not that familiar with construction, but a few of the projects that we're lining up with others suggest that they can get those things done kind of quickly.
We're only talking 2 months, really, right? Oh,
Some of them.
maybe 3,
We give them a few.
little less than 3 months, so.
We give them a few weeks after signing the contract to get out there and start, and then they have a short amount of time to finish it.
Just, this is a facade improvement, so not a total rental, so this is the facade of the building on 44 Hamilton Street, the outside.
Oh, so,
Well,
okay.
that's all it
Yes,
is.
facade and windows, so it's not, you know, the whole interior, so that's why.
Citizen?
I think he was first.
I always take the table first.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Is he putting a business there, or did I don't know if I skimmed through
I
this?
believe he has the, what is it called, Vocero?
Vocero Hispano is a newspaper. He has an office in Worcester. They are the largest Latin newspaper in the region. They want to have office space there. They own the building since 2019. The history was they applied for this commercial rehab loan back in 2019. We could find no contractors to do the work. And then when we got new commercial rehab funds, he was the first in line again. We asked if he was interested, and he actually since then had created his own construction company.
Oh, my goodness.
He felt like there was this void in the market. If he couldn't get a construction company, why not try to become one? And so he created this other company and is now doing the work for his own building. And his goal is to have it to be, he would like to be able to create community space for people to be able to meet there, and then to have office space for Vocero Hispano.
Thanks.
Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, through you. So Mr. Santiago did not come to this meeting tonight. Is he gonna come to the town council meeting?
He is. I did ask that he be present, but unfortunately he had another scheduling meeting.
He's out.
Originally he was gonna try to call in, but I am not gonna entertain people calling into these meetings. But he will be.
If you wanna come and call in, then you gotta post it that way, you know.
Well, you could have a guest call in because it's not a hybrid, but I told him that he had to be there at the 14th.
Okay, well anyways, when I was looking at the work that he was supposed to do there was some interior work that he was supposed to do, so he's not done any of that either. Some drywall.
It's not part of this CDBG program.
Yes, it is.
So-
I looked at the original CDB grant that we voted on last September, and it was interior work was to be done, some drywall done.
And I was just actually telling the town manager this morning, there is some rot in the front of the building that they'll have to go down to the studs. So it may have been perceived as interior, but it's not. It's all exterior, maybe going down to, again, the studs in the front.
Oh, okay, that's what it said in the paperwork,
You're
that's
right.
fine.
There was a little bit of interior work.
So I was just curious why he didn't pull a permit till now, when this was voted on last September, because of the, oh, go ahead.
Councilman Marquetti, I'm gonna agree with you 100% because that is the message that I delivered on this whole request to entertain. You had 5 months to do this. It wasn't until you realized you were at your end, and when I said, in order for me to even entertain this, you haven't pulled a permit, you have to pull a permit, and you have to get a detailed timeline because the job has to get done.
Yeah.
So, And quite honestly, that's the conversation I had, having been on your side, I would say those were the questions that I would ask, and that was quite the conversation we had today, was I understand the perspective that you're gonna come from, and the councils are gonna come from, and we're gonna hold them feet to the fire. So that was a lot of what I had discussed.
And then I also see that he has no sprinklers. According to the, building permit, no sprinklers. Sprinkler system present? No. It's not, so, I don't know if that's gonna be a problem, but it's something that you might wanna take a look at.
That would be the building department, and if they signed off on the building permit, then it wasn't required.
Okay. That's all I have, thank you.
Very good. Anyone else at the table? Councilor Shania.
When this first came about, I asked some of the same questions that were asked by Councilor Marquetti. And a few months back, I asked again for an update from Ms. Dean for where it was gonna be. And we were assured back then that the project was ready to start and that he was pulling the permits and those kind of things there. And I went along with it then, but I'm gonna have some difficulty going along with it this time because of the last minute of everything, push come to shove type thing. And when he first came to council for this, he talked about interior work. He talked about making an office space inside there. To be honest, I thought the CCBG grant application back then was to encompass the whole building. The $50,000, I believe it was encompassing the whole building. And now I'm just surprised we're talking the facade and windows. And the little bit of interior work being done is the sheetrock that may go against the wall that's been compromised. So I have a hard time to support this because he hasn't been a man of his word when it comes to this project, at least in my eyes, because this is the third time that he's come before us. The original, a couple months ago when we asked about it, and now, so that's 3 times that he's come. And we're still, and if you go there, there's nothing happening. I go by 10 times a day, and I have yet to see anything happen. But it could have happened over the weekend, I don't know. Thank you.
Ms. Dean.
Yes, when I gave an update, it was a casual update about, I'd spoken with Pablo, he said he was ready to go. So there was nothing formal in that.
No, but it was an
interaction.
update to us.
It was an update, but it was not a formal contract extension that is now being provided. So I feel like that would at least assure you that you are binding him to the agreement. And if he can't complete it, we do not pay him, right? I mean, therein lies the rub, right? I have warned him today that, you have every right to just hold back these funds and go on to the next thing. Personally, I don't feel he should be penalized for coming to the town in the first place in 2019, because that was no reflection on him, that was a reflection on the market and us not being able to get a contractor. So I feel like he in good faith came to us in October to try to do the work, and then there was this, unfortunate 5 months where he says temperatures and circumstances, prevented him from moving forward. I do agree that, he should be bound to these few months to get this done as quickly as possible. And with regards to the whole building, this price that we've gotten, we were given an initial quote back in 2019 to do not the entire building, but more of just the front facing, and it was going to cost well over $50,000. So we would have had to have gone back out to bid. So now we've since gotten a much cheaper quote, and we're doing all of the building, so we're getting a bigger bang for our buck. And so it is the whole building.
Mr. Manager.
Or at least the majority.
Just to Councilor Shane, I understand your point, and that's why I've been very strong about this contract specifically. I'm willing to give the individual the extension to June 30th, but that's it, and that's why he has to be here on the 14th to make sure that we hold his feet to the fire.
Okay.
Because I understand it.
Is there a possibility, and maybe it's too late, to have a time frame structure, or we're gonna have this done by this date, this done by this date, and completed by this date, or is that?
Well, he has outlined that he will, material lead time delivery supplies would be the week of 4/21 to 4/29. Scheduled date 4/21 to 5/1 for demo and construction, and completion date minimum by May 23rd, maximum by June 6th. So we told him to put those timelines in, and that's what we're gonna hold him to.
I hope you do, because I'm in a project that's probably compatible in dollar-wise, and 2 months is not enough time, and this is 3 months.
Well, this is my belief. Shame on you for taking the time, 5 months not doing anything. We're giving you an opportunity to complete this project and use these funds. If you want to do it, then do it. I'm sorry, I'm feeling very strongly on this one. I'm willing, if it hasn't been clear, I'm willing to say, go ahead to June 30th, but you're gonna do the work.
I mean, you sat with him, so I understand that part of it, and you have a
Yeah.
better understanding of what's going on than us,
Yeah.
because we're not. All right.
Ms. Neal?
What could be done is we take the timeline as part of the extension. So when he signs the extension with the town, that timeline is stated within the extension, that bound to these timelines.
So if he's 3/4 of the way this done at the end of his time, the decision will have to make whether we're gonna allow him to continue, correct?
Well, we only have a certain amount of time for the grant too, so,
Oh, okay.
right, correct? So, that's why we wanna make sure that he does it so that we don't lose this money,
Okay.
so.
Any other questions?
I just wanted
Oh,
one more
Council Marquetti.
quick one. Did you say that you were changing this completion date?
Yes, the June 30th.
It says July 12th.
Yeah, we changed it to June 30th.
That's all. Thank you.
Kathy?
Sorry, just one more question. So if he does not complete it by June 30th, that means he doesn't get these funds? Was there anybody else waiting? Like, would this go to waste? Is there a backup or?
So if I may, through you, Chair, so without advertising the fact, we will likely be going for an extension, and the grant will probably be extended, but we're not there yet. So legally, we can't say, you have to be on June 30, because we haven't requested that formal extension through the state. But,
I see.
but we have many other projects we need to tee up right behind this one, and we need to be spending these funds very quickly. So I would beg the B&D committee, I've already pled my case to Jack, I would beg you to please consider approving this, because we do want to see these funds spent.
I guess I'm sending the message,
Yep.
get your stuff done.
Get
Yeah.
stuff done.
Because we're not gonna play games anymore.
The council
I'm,
doesn't.
and I think anybody that knows me, I'm a firm believer in working with businesses, but when you start taking advantage of the town, by delay or not going to get licenses and permits, then we're gonna take action. I don't wanna see businesses close or people not get their money,
Right.
but when you're taking advantage and you're running establishments without licenses, that's on us. If we know that's going on, shame on us for not coming down and saying, we're taking an aggressive look. I'll work with anybody, but don't take advantage of us as a community. That's my message, I guess.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. Shania?
This,
Council Shania.
so in the event, he hasn't been dispersed any money.
No.
In fact, we're holding a check for the 25% of the total contract. So he's given us 25%
Oh,
of
okay.
the value of the work. As,
So he gave his 25%, does he forfeit that 25% if he doesn't do it?
no,
Okay.
that would be nice.
Maybe we should consider doing that.
Maybe it's something to consider, because, you know, we gave money across the street here, and they took the money and ran and done nothing. So,
Hence-
it's a different situation.
But hence my new stance on handling these things,
Right.
that we'll work with you, but you also have to
Hold up your hand.
hold up your end of it.
All right. I'm willing to go that route, I guess, one extra time.
Okay. Any other questions? Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? 5-0. Unanimous of all present. Item number 5,
Thank you,
review, discuss entering into agreement for $20,000 with VHB for 25% design services of Hamilton, Central, and Foster Streets from the tip limits of work to Main Street in preparation for a Mass Works application using Chapter 90 funds, and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork. Entertain a motion to recommend approval to the town council.
So moved.
Second.
Very good. Mr. Manager?
So this is the project that we're talking about, doing the Central Street corridor, that we were gonna apply for the Mass Works grant for approximately $5 million, I believe, right? $5 million, but we have to have some design to put in with the grant. So this is a very reasonable price for the amount of work that we're gonna get done. VHB is already doing work in that area, so I think that's why it's kind of like a caveat, because they already have a lot of the site lines, site work, right-of-way work is all pretty much done on that. So this is the design concept for us to go, but to make our application, we have to have somewhat of a design, initial design 25%. Anything that we do on those tip projects, you have to go 25%. They're lengthy projects.
Very good. Anyone at the table? Councilman Kenny?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I thought we'd already approved this. I mean, I remember seeing blueprints of that whole area.
Not the new Central Street Mass Works.
I saw a blueprint and showed, you know,
I think we-
Foster Street was gonna be closed off.
Was that
and
redevelopment?
Oak Street was gonna
Oh,
be.
that's the tip project.
Redevelopment.
That's the
That's
tip
the
project.
tip, yeah, but this is.
This is
to
a
the-
different project. This is going.
It says
between the,
right
that's
here.
right. It's between the tip and Main Street. It's
Okay.
between the tip and Main
I get
Street.
it, all right, thank you.
So we're adding on.
So it's not gonna include the bottom area?
No, no.
No.
There shall
It's
be.
the
No,
upper
that's
main
all.
to that limit.
Okay.
That's why
That's
I
all
said
the main
tip.
tip.
All right,
Yep.
thank you.
Very good. Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 6, review, discuss applying for the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, mini entitlement fiscal year 25 funds for $850,000 for housing rehab, commercial rehab, and code enforcement, and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork. Entertain a motion to recommend approval to the town council.
So moved. Second. Either one.
Okay, there we go, Mr. Manager.
I'll defer to the CDBG coordinator and Peg
Okay.
on this. This is the annual CDBG grant. We've done a variety of different projects on this. This would be continuation of commercial rehab, housing rehab, and our code enforcement, as well as the administration piece for the next fiscal year.
Very good. Any questions by the committee? Councilman Kenny?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I think I would rather see the money used differently this year. Every year we do commercial rehab. They get their signs, they get their awnings. I don't see how it's making any difference. And I know that the funds can be used for roads and infrastructure. It can be used to clean up demolition on Mill Street, which sorely needs cleaning up. You can use it for improvements to the school, at the senior center. You can use it for crime prevention, recreation, playground, and parks. There's a lot of things that you can use CDBG money for, and that's what I would rather see us use the funds for this year, because I just think that every year it's the same thing, and I don't really see how it's really making a difference. In fact, the housing rehabilitation, I thought I was told that they were having a hard time finding people to even apply for it. So I know a lot of residents in town would like the roads fixed up. I know a lot of people think that that Mill Street demolition has been sitting there for a year. They'd like to see it cleaned up. If we use the funds this way, it would benefit the entire town, and rather than just housing and commercial rehabilitation. That's all. Thank you.
Ms. Nader?
I just want to comment on the Mill Street area. That will be coming to town council in an executive session on Monday night. So I don't want to comment any further on that, although there is a next agenda item for us to talk about the site assessment. But as far as the particulars of what we do with that piece of property, I'd rather defer to Monday night on that particular piece.
But you could also use it for the improvements of the school buildings, and you know we're gonna need to do something.
I'll defer for that, but I'm just saying in regards to the mill building, we are addressing the mill. We're well aware, we just took ownership of that a week ago, so a week or a week and a half ago, so there are certain steps that we have to do legally
Okay.
that we'll talk about Monday evening.
Sue, would you mind if I just responded quickly, Councilor
Oh,
McCarthy?
go ahead.
May I?
Ms. Dean.
So fiscal year 22-23, we certainly did do housing rehab, commercial rehab, which is the money we're spending right now. In fiscal year 24, we actually spent all of our money on the North Street neighborhood, and it is North Street, Crystal Street, and any of the interior streets inside there to be able to support roads. We feel like we are, we have a lot of roads in the next 2 to 3 years that are being done, hopefully with best case scenario, for instance, the RAISE grant being able to redo Hamilton Street. But we have over the years absolutely tried to do as much infrastructure as possible. For instance, we did Main Street, partial funding from Main Street. Partial funding from Main Street. partial funding for West Street and now North Street. And then with regards to public facilities, we are not allowed to spend community development block grant funds on anything except for ADA barriers on public facilities. That's it, unfortunately. We have the opportunity to rebuild a senior center if we wanted to do that. Otherwise, we have no options to spend money on existing buildings. So within the limits of the law, we have to prove that we're helping low moderate income residents or reducing slum and blight based on the slum blight surveys that were approved by the state. And this year, we're going back to the housing rehab, commercial rehab, because we have a wait list for commercial rehab and, for housing rehab, and for commercial rehab, I feel like we're just getting started with improving the downtown.
Anyone else at the table? Councilman McKinney?
I'll yield to.
Very good. Councilor?
I think if we really look what we got going on for road projects this year, we're gonna be doing tons of millions of dollars worth of work this year. That money that we're getting from CCBG doesn't go very far on road projects, where it'll go further with housing rehab and those kind of things. And the thing that's amazed me is we talk about all these projects, but when we have the hearing, nobody shows up, not a soul. So, you know, I mean, so they go with what they feel is the best. I'm not always agree with it, but the best feeling that would work best for the community. And so far, I think it's been fairly successful.
Thank you. Councilman McKinney?
Okay. First of all, I have showed up at the meetings, and when I show up at the meetings, it's already set, this is what we're gonna spend the money on, so that's why I don't go to the meetings anymore, because there's no change in their minds on it. You have a public hearing, I show up, this is what we're spending the money on, all right, fine. So, second of all, I did look at what CDBG money can be used for. Clearance, demolition, removal, reconstruction, special projects directed to the removal of material and architectural barriers, public service, employment, crime prevention, childcare, health, drug abuse, education. There's a lot of things that it can be used for, provisions of public work facilities, improvements, parks, recreation areas, senior centers. So as far as I can tell, you can use the funds for other things besides housing and commercial rehabilitation. And as far as the roads go, you are fixing a lot of roads, I'm not denying that. But you're not fixing my road. And you're not fixing other people's roads in town. And they want their roads fixed. Not just the main roads, residential roads as well, so. All right, that's all I have, I'm not gonna belabor it, but
Okay,
that's
thank
all
you.
I wanna say, thank you.
No, any other questions? Councilor Rivas?
Not a question, but I do think if we have a wait list, it is really important to continue that program for housing rehabilitation, because we want to provide these services to our community, and people are waiting for that. And I also think we've only just begun the commercial rehabilitation, and we should continue on that road, because we do have all of these road projects and everything complements each other. So I do think, helping our businesses, improve makes a big difference.
Ms. Dean?
I just want to comment on the parks and playgrounds. If you'll recall, we spent a lot of CDBG on lighting and security to complement the park grant for fiscal year 20 and 21 grants. And we had many discussions among the town councilors about, please don't spend more money at McCann Fields. Please consider spending money at other parks and playgrounds. And the agreement was to spend money on updating the open space and recreation plan for that to then determine what the highest priority maintenance needs are, et cetera. So the town is doing an open space and recreation plan as part of its fiscal year 22-23 grant. It's in the making now, and it'll be done by June, so that in the future, the town can look at that open space recreation plan, make recommendations about whether it would want us to use block grant funding for a park. I would encourage anyone, if you have any creative ideas about how to spend the block grant funds, please come down and talk to us throughout the year. We welcome input all the time. It is very hard to meet the state's requirements for the grant while writing a program design for one of these creative suggestions, like workforce or, economic development. But we would love to hear anybody's suggestions and try to run with something. In other towns, they actually have block grant committees that vet these things throughout the year. If the town ever wanted to consider shifting direction, advocate to sue for something like that, we could always, potentially, try to make it more of a, if it feels like if it's an us decision, that's the last thing we want. Sue had 5 public hearings in January and got no attendance. And it's unfortunate if someone feels like they're not being heard. That's the last thing we would ever want. We don't want to build these block grants before we get input. We want to make sure that it's something that the community is interested in.
Any, Councilor Shania?
Maybe it's for you to Jack or to Peg. What's the feeling of the possibility of not even getting those grants because of conditions or the climate in Washington? Have you had any feelings out there?
I think the conversation that I've had with Peg and others that are in the field, John Latour, there has been no indication that those funds would be pulled back at this time.
Good question.
Something we always look at, though. I mean, we have to be cognizant of it, but.
I think more of a threat for our own funds is our local performance. If we're, not able to spend out the funds, if we're
Right.
not, right? So we're trying to make as efficient a job as possible getting projects through to be able to spend the money to prove the state we can handle it. Because there's this constant, reevaluation of how we're doing as a town.
Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? 4-1. Very good. Item number 7, review, discuss a $50,000 grant from Mass Development for Globe Village Brownfields Assessment and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork. Entertain a motion to recommend approval to the town council.
So moved.
Second.
Very good. Mr. Manager.
Thank you. In regards to this, we did do an expression of interest, which we had sent over relative to this brownfields assessment. We were then awarded the grant of $50,000. This would allow us to sign and execute the paperwork when it becomes available. We've had a good conversation regarding this. It goes into the next motion, which would be the site assessment number 2 on Mill Street. So this would allow me to sign all related paperwork relative to the grant. The next motion would be for us to be allowed to hire the contractor. It kind of was put on hold because we had uncertainty on that piece of property. We had to wait till it went through the tax title. The final judgment was finally executed. We are the owners of that property right now, so we were able to now notify them that yes, we do own it, so they're gonna execute the grant, will allow me to sign the grant on behalf of the town, and then move to the next step.
Anyone at the table? Dee Dee.
Is that the building, part of the building that collapsed?
Correct.
Is that what we're talking?
Mhm.
How much of the building is the town gonna own?
We own all the way up to Green Meadows, the next building.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Council Mike Daniel? No? Okay. Anyone out there? No? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, all present. Item number 8, review, discuss entering into an agreement with Fuss and O'Neill for $49,000 for a Brownfields Phase 2 site assessment at 30 Mill Street, contingent on executing the Mass Development Grant Agreement, and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork. Entertain a motion to recommend approval to the town council.
So moved. Second.
That's a change. Okay. All right.
Thank you. So again, this would allow us to conduct the Phase 2 assessment of that property. It would give us further information as to the conditions that we have there. And then based on the determination, we would have that as part of any RFP or sale and appraisal of that property. Under the new title law, we're required to, the town council on Monday night will discuss certain avenues available, but in either event, we would have to conduct an appraisal of that property, and we would want to know what's in it, because that would obviously affect whatever the appraisal price would be. So this is a benefit to the town, no matter which avenue we decide to take. At that point, after Monday's meeting. So, it just gives us further information. We have quite a volume of the phase 1 assessment. This is maybe the next step. We could not conduct the phase 2 at the time because the owner of the property would not allow us on there to do that site assessment. Now that we're the owners, we can do the phase 2 under this grant.
What's the difference between phase 1 and phase 2?
It was a further assessment of testing.
Yeah, phase 1's based on just public record. They can do it without actually having site access, authorized site access. Then the phase 2 actually goes in and bores holes and finds out what's in the ground.
Thank you, both of you. Any questions? Councilman Marquetti?
Shouldn't you hold off on this if you're having an executive session meeting on this?
Well, no, either way, we own the property, we would want either way, whatever determination the town has, we would want the information.
Okay.
Anyone else? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, all present. Very good. Item number 9, review, discuss, and extension to CP House's opera agreement, allowing for an additional 8 months to complete work by December 14, 2025, and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork, and entertain a motion to recommend approval to the town council.
So moved.
A second?
Very good, Mr. Manager.
Thank you. So this is one of the requests on the opera agreement. Mr. Cummins is here along with Peg to discuss this. I think I made my comments pretty clear about what our expectations of the town are, and I'll refer over to Peg and Rick.
I just want to first apologize for my agenda,
I
my
see
memo.
that.
I had a typo that Matt was able to fix at the last minute for us. Thanks, Matt. And so, yeah, it's kind of disregard the motion language on the memo, but, you know, it stated there that, you know, the rest of it is correct, that, you know, this agenda item was approved back in April of '23, he was provided an extension in June of '24, he's now asking for an additional extension to December, he's pulled his demo permit, and we look forward to seeing him complete the work. And then I provided within the packet the original plans that were provided in 2024, along with proof of his demo permit, he has been paying his loan in full since June of 2024. So this is a 7-year loan that he'll continue to pay, but the work was supposed to be completed within 1 year.
Dee Dee?
I guess I have, so it's supposed to be completed within 1 year. Is there any stipulation within getting the money? What's the stipulation? I mean, it's not completed, so now what happens?
So we could, in theory, take him to court and say, we want our money back. The goal of the grant is to not act as a 0% interest banking loan.
Right.
It's to trigger the opening of storefronts and see revitalization. And so, you know, we obviously have an incentive to see his work through, because that's serving us as a town to see the improvements done at 205 Main Street. And Greg's here if you have any questions you want to direct to him.
Sorry, I don't mean to hide behind the wall.
Well, if it's a grant though, who's in charge of the grant? Is that a state grant?
So these are ARPA funds, where the American Rescue Plan Act funds that came to us. They're called local ARPA funds. We got our bucket of money. Within our bucket of money, the committee divvied out certain funds. We got $250,000. We created a loan program. It's not a grant. We created a loan program we were able to, within the confines of the ARPA language, you could only do certain things. If you were going to do a grant, the grant would have had to have been spent and the work completed by, you know, a certain date. We instead did just a loan program because it gave us a longer window to be able to use the funds. And we created a revolving fund so that the loan comes back to the revolving fund so that we could potentially then loan those funds out to new applicants. So the goal is, over the next 7 years, Greg will pay us back his however much it is, $100,000. Once the $100,000 comes back to us, we can loan it out to another person to help them with whatever code upgrades or things that are holding them back from being able to redevelop.
So the ARPA funds just keep going and going and going, there's no end?
Correct.
Okay.
However, we do want to see the main goal of the storefronts
Exactly.
actually opening.
Councilor Kelly?
With the ARPA funds, is there any risk that that unused funds, if they're not used within a certain period of time, they're gonna be clawed back?
We already met that threshold. We loaned out all of the $250,000 by the December 24 deadline. And so we wrote the grant, ran it by attorneys to make sure that it did meet, in their opinion, the ARPA terms to be able to now continue to use it in the revolving fund. It just had to be fully committed by that December 2020.
Councilman Kenny?
So this is one of those that I do have a problem with because there's just too many things going on with this that kind of bother me, really. I have some concerns about. First of all, the loan was for $115,267. This loan was made March 21st, 2023. This is for the sprinkler system at 205 Main Street. And it was a specific rehabilitation on the property in the agreement. On the agreement that I was looking at, Gregory Cummings, who's here tonight, he's listed as the owner, but if you look at the Worcester Registry of Deeds, Gregory Cummings and Jay Chung are listed as managers of CP House. They're not the owners. So one of the questions that I would have is who actually owns CP House LLC. Then in May 11th, 2023, not even a little over a month after he received the $115,267, he purchased 276 South Street from Donna LaRoche, that's the old art spa, for $100,000. So I'm just hoping that none of the commercial money was used to purchase this other or renovate the property on South Street. The agreement states that the rehabilitation work is to be completed within 12 months from the date of the release of funds. And if the work is not completed, the money is to be returned. I don't think we have to take somebody to court for that. I think being a good neighbor, they would just return the money. But the town may permit an extension of time in writing. Yes, the monthly payments are calculated over 7 years, $1,372.23 a month. Now, the first extension, P&D agenda June 12, 2024, to approve extension of work to be completed at 205 Main Street, extended to December 30th, 2024, and the blueprints were provided, as Ms. Dean said, by the architect Mark Shriver from Lancaster, Mass. And also in the packet, it said there was a note from Greg Cummings, please forgive my late response, but I only recently received finished plans for the renovation of 205 Main Street. And now tonight, the second extension, approved extension work to be completed 8 months, extended to December 2025. Mr. Cummings states in a letter, let this letter serve as a request for an extension for our project, 205 Main Street. Despite our best efforts, we have been running into delays with the architect getting us all the necessary plans. So last June, he had the finished plans, and now he doesn't have the finished plans. So this is one of the things that raises a red flag for me. The blueprints tonight are the same blueprints that were provided last June from an architect, same architect. If you add another 8 months to this, it's going to be almost 2 years since he was awarded this loan. And that's tying up the funds for maybe some other business owners in town would like access to those funds, but you are tying these funds up for another 8 months. And so if the work hasn't been done, what has happened to the funds that were given to Mr. Cummings? Are they in a bank account somewhere? Is there an account number? These are things that I think that should be provided as oversight for this project. I see trucks outside. I don't know if there's any work being done on the inside, but I see there have been some trucks outside, but I think the inspector should go inside and see if there are any renovations that have been started. And that's always been my complaint about things like this. There's just a lack of oversight, lack of inspections. I feel the funds should be returned. If he wants to reapply in 8 months when he's ready to do the sprinkler system, that's fine. Meanwhile, we should use the funds for somebody else, and if the funds aren't there when he wants to reapply, then let him go get a loan at a bank. That's how I feel about it. I wouldn't be in favor of yet another extension on this project. Thank you.
Very good. Ms. Dean?
Just in response to the monitoring and milestones, the way that this grant was, or this loan program was created was to be, we wanted it to be as helpful as possible to the business owners. We didn't want them to be required to pay prevailing wages. And so there's a legal means test that's used to ensure that you don't pay prevailing wages. And some of the pieces of the means test are, you're not overseeing the process, you're not monitoring, because of that, it was a sort of all or nothing. Here you go, we expect this to get done, and we don't want you to be hung up with the extra expense of prevailing wages because we want to see this work. So that's why it's not inspected to the level that the councilor would like.
Any comments at the table, questions at the table? Very good. Council Shania?
The money that the Cummins got was a loan, correct?
Correct.
Who's paying that loan?
Correct.
He's not behind the loan.
Correct.
The loan money is going back into the fund that it came out of, more or less.
Correct, and in fact, Councilor Marquetti gave me an extensive records request at the end of March, asking for all records of the revolving fund or of the loans, the existing loans, and I gave him the accounting, the proof of receipts for every single turnover I have for all of the loans, and the applications, and who's completed, who hasn't completed. And so you could vouch for that all of the loans are complete.
So, the project not being completed by the time frame that was originally established, best case scenario, we get all the money back. Worst case scenario, the judge would say, listen, you're making your mortgage payments, you're not behind. That's kind of look at it in a favorable point from Mr. Cummings, I would say. I think in this particular case, as much as I don't care for extensions like we did on Hamilton Street, I think I would have to support this because of the fact that he is making the payments, the money's going back into the fund to be reutilized, and those monies would be going back in there. Even if it added 6 to 8 months, he would still be making those monthly payments to the town. So I think that's a little bit of a difference than giving a grant of $50,000. This is a loan. And I think that's kind of what the difference is.
Just a point of clarification too about the ownership. We do have these liened, these properties are liened, so the money that's been loaned, should the ownership transfer to anyone else, that immediately requires that we're paid back. I just verified through the Worcester Registry of Deeds, it is through CP House. So CP House is who we gave the contract to or who we made the agreement with, and that's who we have liened. So regardless of who owns it, if they are to sell, they would owe us that.
Mr. Manager?
And I'd just like to say, I think we've delivered the message of what our expectations of the town are. I've heard these messages loud and clear, hence the stance that we are taking on these projects. Because we can't continue to operate like this. We have the headache next door, and that's another whole other issue. And I think that's the driving force of when we look at this program for any future lending, we're gonna be careful about, okay, what are the timelines you bind into the town? We know things are gonna happen, but there are certain benchmarks that we need to make sure that people achieve, right? And again, to what Ms. Dean said, we are not the Bank of Southbridge at 0% interest. We are doing this to improve Southbridge, and I know Mr. Cummings is very active in the community. Southbridge Business Partners, a big advocate of Southbridge Business Partners. So he wants to see the project done and as an economic driver, but sometimes I think we have to be the pushing force too that says, hey, look, you gotta move it along.
Well, on his extent, sometimes I just look at it, is it a realistic date, or does he really need like 4 more months on top of that? You know what I'm saying? Is the December realistic, or is it better to say April? You know what I'm saying? So we don't come back.
I think it's better, I think it's better to say December, and that's our expectation. Because if, just like when we're kids, right? Give them a little bit of rope, they take that rope. No, then December is the date. December is the date. Show me where you're at in October, so that we can be prepared. What are the timelines? You know what I mean? We have to take a better look at that. So, and I'll take that as ownership on the town manager's side, right? We have to do a better job too of being proactive and saying, hey, you're coming up around October. Where are you at? What are you doing? Don't come to me for an extension unless you have some really good backup information for me to present. Because I totally agree with Councilman McKay to my right. I really do. I understand where he's coming from. I understand where the arguments are going to be before we even come to the table. Hence why we're taking the avenue that we are, because I hear that message loud and clear, and I agree with it 100%. I agree with it.
And I can address some of those delays if you like, if you want to hear. First of all, we didn't know exactly what we wanted to do there, so that took some time to figure out. Obviously, it would have been easier for us just to do residential throughout the whole building. But we didn't think that benefited the town, and quite frankly, it wasn't interesting to us. So we always knew we wanted to do some kind of restaurant on the first floor, residential upstairs. And in terms of getting the sprinkler system, you can't just put a sprinkler system in. They need to do the plans of the entire building. They have to know exactly everything that's going to be taking place, what rooms, where the heads have to go. So that took some time. And as well, you know, things have changed. The concepts have changed a little bit over time. You know, exactly what we want to do, what the layout is. And in terms of the architectural plans being done, yes, the drawings were done, but none of the engineering was done. And I've been held up by 2 different architects. That architect I'm no longer working with. I was recommended another local architect. Still has not completed our engineering plans. But because I've been able to partner with a good contractor, who incidentally, I encouraged to buy the building behind us, and they've already gotten started. That's actually helped us because we've got a relationship, we built a relationship where we can use some of the same people. But now that we have the plan, we've got most of the building demoed, we're gonna start framing probably in 2 or 3 weeks, and then we can get all the plumbing, electrical permits. We've got a restaurant guy coming in tomorrow to finalize the layout of the kitchen, and we're on a good schedule. So I understand it took us a while to get the momentum going, but now that we're going, I think it's going to be a very good opportunity for the town, because like I said, we're going to have not just a restaurant, we're going to have a deli, we're also going to have a market, and we're going to try to keep all those things open, you know, pretty much most of the day. Dinner, lunch and dinner all day. Hopefully maybe 7 days a week, if not at least 6.
Very good. Ms. D?
Greg's graciously said, if anybody's interested in checking out the building, they're welcome to it, if that's also a level of assurance. Obviously, they can't be inspected out of my office because we're not monitoring that, right? We're just, because we don't want to create the prevailing wage issue. But I would highly recommend that Greg share his contact info. If anybody wanted to reach out, then if they could schedule a time to look at the building.
I do have some pictures. The Wi-Fi was very bad on my computer, but I do on my phone. If you want to see just a few pictures I took the other day, I'm happy to share them. To show, I mean, it's
If you want to send them to me, then I can send them out. That'd be easier.
It's nothing pretty.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's, you know, the demo's taken more because due to certain codes, none of the outside walls were insulated. We've had to take those down to ceilings because we need fire code rating. Those have been coming down. But like I said, it's gonna end up looking better than it did, I assure you. But yeah, I'll be happy to send you those. Or feel free to come. If you want to do a walkthrough, I'm happy to have you come over to the building and take a look.
And either Jack or I have his contact info if you wanted to just go to us to get his contact info. And it, just as a final thought, like, please know that, you know, going to SBP meetings, poor Greg's cornered, but I've cornered him, I don't know how many times, about the status, the update, and I do trust the local business owners to be good for their word, right? So it's awkward when we have to bring them in to get extensions, et cetera, because I do believe them when they say they're up against circumstances. But I also, you know, at some point, I can't be left to just naively say, sure, I trust you, you know, so I appreciate that it's being pushed from the town manager's office down, that, you know, this is not just Peg, you know, being a little pushier, and this is genuinely coming from the town council.
Okay. Anyone else? Councilor McKinney?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, you know, I don't have any problem with the work he's doing over there. I just don't, I don't think we should tie up the funds any further on this. I wanted to do work around my house, I would go get a bank loan. Like I said earlier, he had the money to buy Donald LaRoche and sold, building at 276 South Street, so I don't know why he didn't use that money for the sprinkler system. As far as the paying the money back, yes, he's paying the money back, but the agreement said the work, he had 12 months to finish the work. That's what the agreement was. And we've already given him one extension. I can't see giving him a second extension, especially when there's other businesses in town that could possibly use the funding. And as far as the lien goes, I have looked at those liens, that's in the agreement, and it's only good for 5 years. So if he, not so much with Mr. Cummings, but if the guy next door walks away and we can't get a hold of him for 5 years, we're gonna lose that. So anyway, I'm not gonna go back and forth with Ms. Dean over here. This is what I feel about it, and that's all. Thank you.
It's an important point of clarification with those UCC filings, we just renew them. So if, for the 7 years of the loan, we just renew it again until it's done. So we will never lose the chance to regain those funds.
Okay, thank you.
And I can address in terms of buying the other building, that was also an opportunity for us. We didn't pay cash for the other building. It cost us, we did sell or finance it. So we put, I think I put 5% down. The money, actually the sprinkler system, a lot of the cost has already been paid. So the permitting, all the design, all that stuff has already been paid for with the ARPA money. So, you know, I guess whatever you decide.
Any other comments or questions? Very good. Oh,
I just have a, you know, I don't wanna beat it up to the call, but if that project gets done in 12 months, we're still gonna make monthly payments like he's doing now. So to say that 12 months, it makes the impression that at the end of 12 months, that all that money's coming back. It's not. It's a loan, and he's gonna continue paying that loan. So at the end of 12 months, whether it's extended or not, the money is still being paid. It's not disappearing. That's you can't give that indication out there to the public that once that job gets done, the money comes back. It comes back over the 7 year of the loan, whether it was completed or not. We just have an agreement that the town manager has put together that now there's an avenue to come and request that money back. So I'm done.
thank you. All right, all those in favor? Opposed? 4 to 1. Okay, thank you.
I'm good, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you,
And if you
gentlemen,
could come
ladies.
to town council on Monday night, that would be great. They'll be addressing the agenda item there
Again.
with the full notes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, whatever you need. I sent you those pictures.
Thank you. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
You might be lucky to get away with it.
Okay. Item number 10, review, discuss entering into a new host
I mean, it's a construction site, but those.
community agreement between the town of Southbridge and Canterbro LLC, doing business as Green Path. Allow the town manager to sign any related documents, entertain a motion to recommend approval to the town council.
So moved.
Okay, Mr.
So,
Manager.
thank you. So the next three agenda items are all relative to the same items. We have 4 agreements. These are 3 of the 4 agreements. One is with Green Meadows Farm LLC. That is the Green Meadows location on Mill Street. And we have Katy Brook, which is the 208 Worcester Street LLC, and then we have Canterboro, which we're talking about right now, which is the Green Path.
Main
The-
Street?
Huh?
They're on Main Street, right?
On Main Street, correct. So all these agreements, when they were originally negotiated, had language in them that you had, that these individuals had to give social payments, they had to give donations to the town. There were certain elements on that agreement that the Cannabis Commission has deemed you can't do any longer. So they gave guidance out that all the old agreements were non-compliant, and therefore we had to come up with new agreements or amendments to make them compliant. The easier way was to just enter into new agreements that addressed all the language. So these have been worked out extensively between our legal counsel, KP Law, and the agencies that were doing these host agreements. If you remember, well, a little while ago, we had done one for Mora Ibiza LLC, which was the first one that we sent under the new agreement to the Cannabis Control Commission, and that one passed. So a lot of the language, the majority of the language that was used in that agreement that has been passed through the Cannabis Commission is incorporated into this agreement. So these would be a 5-year agreement. At the end of the 5 years, we would notify them to negotiate a new agreement. During that period of time, there's probably going to be a million changes with the Cannabis Control Commission. So, like I said, we spent a lot of money negotiating this with our attorney with the different paths. So Canterboro, Green Path is the first one. This one right now would just simply be adult use marijuana retail establishment. So all they do is sell out of that establishment the cannabis. So that's what we have.
Okay, questions?
And we made sure, we made sure that all the dates were correct. I had met individually with each person, asked each company to come in with their existing licenses, the date of commencement, and all that to make sure that all the dates lined up. So we've gone through this quite a bit, and hopefully we haven't missed anything on the CCC. We'll come back and say that something is out of whack.
So that's your summary of and all of them are the same?
Yeah, without, the only difference with Canterboro and, which is Green Path and Katy Brook, do the same type of establishment, so they just do adult retail. Green Meadows is a little more extensive because they have adult use, medical, they have manufacturing, cultivation, so theirs is a little more extensive, but it articulates all the dates and places.
So it's a summary of the changes in these documents are just what the state wanted you to do?
Yeah, a lot of the information is information that we've had in additional ones, like water consumption, traffic mitigation, wastewater, stuff that's already part of the zoning bylaws and all that. I think, hopefully, what I hope is outside of them paying us excise tax down 5 years from now, that they'll see this and maybe establish, like we have liquor commission in the town that does these licenses, that hopefully they'll say, oh, okay, you have local control, that you put your application in, you approve it just like a liquor license. That would be, I think, the way that a lot of people are thinking these are gonna go. So that's why the 5 years, some of them, we could negotiate as long as we wanted to for 10 years, but we decided to do the 5-year just in case there's any changes. And this would get us to not deal with this, and that there would only leave one more company, which is Mellow Tiger, which is a little more complicated because they never executed their original host agreement, but they're in that queue as well. So.
Questions, Dee Dee?
Did the state or the Cannabis Commission also take away the percent that we were supposed to get on the sales?
No, we still get the 3% excise
We still
tax.
get that?
The key language was community impact fees.
Okay.
So before you could just say, hey, 3% or whatever, with these agreements, you really have to clearly articulate what those community impact fees are, what type they are. They have to send us a notice requesting a statement. We then give them a statement back, but we have to clearly define what the impact fees are to the community. A lot of towns, there are some cities in the Commonwealth that have had to negotiate settlements with these to pay back the money that they got for the community impact fees. We're in a fortunate position that they're not seeking us to pay them back the monies they've already given us for the impact fees. But we still do get the excise tax. And no, I do not know the amount right at the moment, but I could get that number for you. But yes, we do get the 3% excise tax.
Councilor Curley.
I guess these agreements, these host community agreements are required by the law. Is this why we're entering into these?
They were required at the beginning to have host agreements.
Mhm.
You don't necessarily, if the town decided at some point to say, hey, look, we're just gonna waive them, we could waive them, but I think the best case was the 5 years for right now.
I guess I just question why we're singling out the marijuana businesses for these types of agreements. I mean, we don't do it with liquor stores, we don't do it with, supermarkets. As long as they're operating within the parameters of their license, I mean, it just seems like an unnecessary step. I mean, what is the real community impact? I don't see that as any greater than any other business, at least from my perspective. Maybe because I don't have all the information. Maybe there is. I don't know, but.
No, if I may, they were required when you first became citing for the community host agreements. I think this is the first go-round of renewals of these and renegotiate. I think that's why we wanted to keep it at a 5-year, because I think it's gonna change. Because I agree with you, why isn't it any different than a liquor license, right? You go to planning board, you go to, zoning or whatever, it's zoned in those agreements and all that. This just gives you a little bit more teeth, I think, with the security, because you can articulate, hey, you have to have security in the business because of the type of business it is. You could argue that it's no different than a liquor, and I would agree with that, but I think for this particular go-round, because of the newness of it, that we would do one more round, and we can terminate at any time if we so choose. So if something changes dramatically in the next year or 2 years, we could terminate these agreements or do something differently.
Ms. Dean?
It's also currently in our planning board bylaws, so we would have to remove them from the bylaws in order for them to be allowed to operate without it. And they were all seeking, for us to renew these within their timelines, so that would have, been another delay in the process. And also, if I could just share that, the question about the local tax, the 3% local tax, the reason I think we all get confused sometimes is because the way most towns set it up was 3% local tax, 3% impact fee. And so people heard these 3%, they were different, but each of them were 3%. So we'll continue to get the 3%, and then the other 3% will go away.
Which is the community impact fee, which really, there is, when these companies come in and they say, well, do you expect to get me a bill? I said, not unless there's something dramatic happen, right? There really isn't.
Yeah.
So that's a good point by Ms. Dean about the bylaws. I think that's something we have to look at, just the general bylaws and the zoning bylaws, to make sure that we clean these up.
Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 11, review, discuss entering into a new host community agreement between the town of Southbridge and Green Meadow Farm LLC. Allow the town manager to sign any related documents. Entertain a motion to recommend approval to the town council.
So moved.
Second.
Anything to add?
No, outside of the fact that this will be medical marijuana, marijuana cultivated indoor, marijuana product manufacturer, and marijuana retailer. And just so you know, they need us to do a community host agreement because they've expanded into a different municipality. In order for them to enter into that, I think it's Fitchburg they're going to right now. In order for them to go in Fitchburg, they need to have a current host agreement with the town that they're at. So this is their home, Southbridge, which they have a very robust cultivation center. So they need to have this host agreement for them to continue and expand out to the Fitchburg area.
Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 12, review, discuss entering into a new host community agreement between the town of Southbridge and 208 Worcester Street LLC. allow the town manager to sign any related documents, entertain a motion to recommend approval to the town council.
So moved.
Second.
And
I just one little caveat in this one. There is a little bit of a language difference where it says the property or any other property in Southbridge, because they are looking at moving possibly to a different location in Southbridge that would have to go through zoning, so it would be this property that they're at on Main Street or any other property approved by planning board, zoning board, but they have to go through all the permanent process. They just don't wanna have to come back and say, I'm gonna amend it, if it's a different location, so that's
Is that
the
the one on
logic.
Main Street?
No,
That's the one
Worcester
on Main
Street.
Street.
Worcester Street or Main Street?
No, the one on Main Street.
no.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back to Canterbury, I'm sorry,
Okay,
the first one.
it is
Yeah.
Worcester Street, okay.
Katy Brook is staying, so.
Katy
my
Brook is
bad.
staying, so it's the.
Yeah. I also, the names are good, cause there used to be Cannabliss, then it became this, and so, okay,
Fine.
sorry.
Okay. Everyone else set? Everyone straight?
And just, I wanna, just for the record, they've been great, these three have been fantastic to work with, they've been great partners with the town, all three of them. Mellow Tiger has been a little difficult to deal with, I think we'll get through it, but these three have been great stewards for the town and very, very good partners with all of us, so.
Christine?
I just want to publicly thank Jack for all the hard work with this. Thank you.
Short and sweet. Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Do you want to announce your next meeting so that people know?
Sure.
6 o'clock.
Okay. For the people out there, our next meeting is scheduled for April 29th, 2025 at 6 PM. And I believe we'll be discussing budget.
Budget and a couple items.
Budget items on economic development, planning, and the conservation commission. And there'll be a couple of other items as well. So again, that's April 29th, 2025 for budget items that fall under the purview of the planning and development subcommittee. Okay, item number 13, adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? 5-0, unanimous of all present, we are adjourned.